Welcome aboard the Tabletop Express. Hi, everybody. My name is Chris. I'm here, of course, joined by my co-conductor, Anthony. And this is Call Aboard. Look, if you've never joined Call Aboard, if you've never joined Call Aboard before, everybody, Call Aboard is our live call-in show. It is the board game live call-in show here on the Tabletop Express, where we make you part of a show, but it's the end of the month, Anthony, and because it's the end of the month, something very important happens. We're going to talk about what are we going to talk to everybody about here?
The Lunar New Year.
That's not the theme this year for this episode. No, it is the Lunar New Year, though. It is the year of the snake.
The wooden snake? Yes, we're going to talk about all the games we played in January. Well, not all of them.
Well, we'll talk about some of the games we played. Before we do that, I do want to bring in a very special guest really quick. I think it's important that we bring this person in, especially because it's the year of the snake. It's a box, guys. What's going on here? Yeah. What's happening here? Hello?
This isn't a caller. It's just a box.
Oh my word!
Hi. Look at that! It is our other co-conductor.
Hey, what up,
Ryan? How you doing, Ryan?
Oh, I'm doing good. It's Chris, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I almost called you Mike.
All right, Solid Snake.
Oh my God, I am.
I'm climbing that box, huh?
Yeah.
We might be able to guess. Holes. We might be able to guess one of the games you'll talk about tonight. It's just saying. It's possible.
That's not a box.
Well, I do want to say welcome, everybody. Marcel says, I thought you screened these now. Yeah, debatable.
Yeah, the old box trick.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But
it's a host in a box.
Oh, geez. Look, I do want to point out before we rock right into this, and we do have someone in the wings who wants to share some games. I don't know about you guys, but it was a busy month. More than 35% of my plays this month were actually in person. And that number may not sound impressive, except for the fact that I have 136 games played. So there was a ton of games played on Board Game Arena, but there's still a crap load of games played in person. And I couldn't even log 8 of them because one of the games was not even on Board Game Arena, so I couldn't even put it in. So I had to kind of add that in manually. But yeah, a lot of games. And I think 69 games played total. So I had a lot to choose from this month.
Yeah, I had a lot to choose from as well. But I'm going to limit it just to in-person plays, which was 17. But in total was 54.
Yeah. Same for me.
About you, Anthony?
What? I have some stats to share because one of the things that I'm super excited about is I followed through on some resolutions around board gaming. I did finally jump on BG Stats. You'll be happy to hear. And I've been playing a whole lot of games on Board Game Arena and synced those into there as well. So I have, you ready for this? 138 plays in January.
Wow. There you go.
Impressive.
Thank you.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed. But we are joined by someone in the wings here in the back rooms of the StreamYard system that we gratefully use thanks to some of our patron support. So I do want to take that moment to thank those who make that possible. With that, I am going to bring in one of our callers. We've got Marcel in the wings. Let's bring him in. Hey, Marcel.
Hey, how we doing?
Ooh,
hello.
What's going on, man?
First try.
You're over there.
Yeah. You're over there. Nope.
Wow. Yeah, I know,
right? Look, I know we've been playing some games on Board Game Arena, which is as real life as it gets for me and you anyways. So those I wish could be in person. But what's on your mind this month? Because first month of the year, I always find January is a lot of games played because there's some excitement around new stuff, new year, whatever. But I'm interested what hit your table.
Yeah, so I mean, the first one's the one that I played the most this month on BGA, and that is going to be a 2-player game for dominating planets called Zenith.
Mm.
You
Yeah,
had to know that
was
one's coming.
I knew that was coming.
I was
Yeah,
disappointed this had nothing to do with old time TVs.
So this is a game I can't wait to actually play on a table. I think it comes out in February in France or something like that.
yes, that's my understanding of it. Sometime in February in France, and then eventually US release.
Yeah, I mean, so just in January alone, I've got 16 plays of this, and I think 10 of those at least are with you.
That probably makes sense. Yeah.
So, and this game is basically you get these cards, and it's a tug of war. You've got all these planets that you're trying to get the influence on and dominate. The way you win is either you gain dominance over the planets, either 3 times of the same planet, 4 different planets, or you get 5 total. And every time you play in a card, you're gaining influence on one of those planets, and then there's some additional bonus actions that happen alongside them. So if you play, for example, any of those cards there, you're going to have the influence available, which is that gray number on the top of the card. And that is the cost to play a card. And alternatively, you can use your gold, which I think is called Zenithium or something like that.
No, is it?
I think so.
All right.
And so if you go back to that main board, you have 3 different paths that you can choose.
There we go.
There you go. Yeah, so that little gold section on the side there, you can basically build up and gain different bonuses there as well. And each time you do it, it costs 1 additional Zenithium or whatever they're called. And then if you just flat out run out of influence and Zenithium, you can then do diplomacy. And in which case, on the right side of the board, it looks like, depending whether you do like the robot, the animoids, or the humans, you get certain bonuses for basically passing on a turn.
Yeah.
And giving up a card. So, I mean, overall, it's a tug of war game. You can win it in, I think we had one game where you ended up playing 1 card and winning 3 planets in 1 swoop and just kicked my butt.
Well, and there's some cards where you're literally essentially discarding cards from your tableau in front of you, other where you're taking cards from the other player. I mean, I will say it's if you don't like games that can swing at any given moment, it won't be for you, because it can definitely do that. But I've really enjoyed my plays of this with you. In particular, like I said, there's moments like that, and it gets crazy. But I do like the technology track that you mentioned that you're paying up, because there is I think as I played it more, a unique kind of decision to decide if I want to play to that or play to my tableau in front of me. So, I mean, there's some interesting decision making that happens there. It'll be interesting playing it in person at some point, just because I do think there's a lot that BGA automates for you. And I don't know if it'll be as smooth in person, but I will be interested in trying it. I should note it's the same designer who did Captain Flip, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So actually, let me double check on that. Yeah, I believe it is. Yes. So I believe if we look here,
Castle combo,
Castle
festival.
combos in here, festival.
Yeah, because Captain Flip wasn't that
I thought Captain Flip might be.
I think we confused it with Castle combo.
Yeah,
maybe it wasn't that, but I know Castle Combo. There we go, Castle Combo, the illustrator for, and then Play Punk has done Play Punk. The
there it is.
Publisher did Captain Flip, so that's where that's coming from. So if it sounds familiar, that would be why. But yeah, I'm with you. I've enjoyed this game quite a bit, and obviously, it's one I continue to play. So it's already one of my top 3 most games played in this year. So, by the way,
I have to echo what you're saying too, because for sure I want to play it in person, because I feel like with this game in particular, the automation in Board Game Arena is taking away from my understanding of the game and like the enjoyment. I feel like I'd rather I want to try it in person for sure.
Yeah, and I will, by the way, take a quick moment. We have Girly Gamer BGG Gran in the house. We got Brian Chandler in the house. I see D Nix in the house. Dan is here.
Howdy, y'all.
Definitely say hello. If you've got games you played this month, certainly would love for y'all to call in, call-board.com. Or, of course, you can discuss it in the comments. But, yeah, I'm glad you bring that one up, Marcel, because, again, that's one we've played a lot, and I anticipate a lot more games to come here. I know we set a challenge quota for it, and we're already, for ourselves this year, and we're already like 20% through. So this is a lot of it. There's a good question, by the way. Dan asked if we played the 2v2 version. That's how it was demoed to me at PAX, and the online BGA version does not have the 2v2 version. So haven't done that, and that's the other reason I want to play it in person. And it is one I will certainly be grabbing as soon as I can, just because I've enjoyed it that much and I'll want to try it. So again, I will be interested how it plays in person.
All right. Yeah. And then I get one more, or are we good?
Oh no, do one more. You're
all
good
right.
for
The other one is one that I actually played in person. I actually like it a lot better in person than on BGA, and that is King of Tokyo Duel.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later tonight, actually.
Oh,
What?
nice. Oh, did I just spoil for you guys?
No, we're not. No,
Why don't
we'll do our full review later.
Why don't we just do the impromptu review now? Let him talk about his play. We'll talk about it. Why push the monsters to the side? Let them have their
You're
day.
right. All right. Why don't you talk a little about your experience with this one?
Yeah, so this was one that I got for, actually, I think it was the BGG Secret Santa, and finally got it to the table. It, to me, encapsulates all the best stuff from King of Tokyo if you're doing a two-player version of it. It really streamlines the two-player. I think one of the things that you see in person on the table more so than BGA is that the fame and the destruction pieces actually stand out a lot better. It's a lot easier to see where you are on the table.
Yes.
So that is very nice. And then it's just satisfactory rolling all those dice. So with this game here, you're basically two monsters on each end of the board. You can win in, I believe it was one of three ways. You can go old school style and just flat out kill the other person. You can get your fame, which is the blue star, or the destruction, which is the red broken tower piece. If you get them into those spotlight areas at the end of your turn, you win, because you are now very famous and infamous at the same time. And then the other way is if you're able to get one of those tokens all the way across the board to the final spot, and then you can win that way as well. And with this version, they introduced like the new aspects of the dice. So you get the star, which is shown there. If you roll three of those, a la King of Tokyo style, you get to move the fame one space. They have a die for the destruction, which also, if you roll three of those, you get to move it one space. One of the new things that they introduced into this is buzz. So if you're doing a lot of cool stuff, you tend to create a little bit of buzz as a monster, and you can kind of see the little icons below the electric symbols there, and there's little tiles that correspond to those, and you get to place those onto the map itself, which then changes the map. Right. So there's some that can make the path to victory longer. It can make it shorter. So you've got the little crying penguin there. Now you've got 3 spaces to go instead of 2. Yep. You got the little alien 3-eye person over there. Instead of having to go 3 spaces, you go 2. So you use that to shorten your track to victory. And then there's each monster themselves has their own special capability that you can do when you roll the exclamation points.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying the diversity of the little special powers in addition to those buzz things, because they're not going to come up in every game. They only get applied if you buy a power-up card that has one of them on there.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, one of the other things that I do like that's different about this setup is there's still the 3 power-up cards out there to buy, and you buy them the same way with the cubes, but the one, like the slot farthest to the right, is a discounted slot, so it's a -1 for cost. And then if anyone does buy anything, they just slide down. So one of the things that sometimes happen in regular King of Tokyo, for me anyway, is a lot of times those cards just don't get purchased. They just kind of hang around there for a large part of the game. I feel like you're more prone to buy them in this one for not only if they're a little bit cheaper, but also with those buzz things. It lets you add some stuff as well.
Yeah, and one kind of cool thing too is they get that little sticker sheet shown in the upper right there. On the side of the box, they actually have little achievements that if you say buy 6 power-ups and get 6 buzz tokens in a game, then you get to put that little sticker on there claiming that challenge. Oh, like Kristen said.
There it is.
It took me a while to figure out that's what those were for. I'll be honest.
I'm like, cool, stickers.
Yeah, I was like, where do these stickers go? Like, are you supposed to put these on the monster cards? Yeah,
and that actually clicked for me on BGA because they have that little down there, and it actually keeps track of it for you.
Okay.
The thing I want to say about this is I want to echo something you said is I actually have trouble on Board Game Arena because I've played this both in person and on Board Game Arena. And some things are, we talked about Zenith, right? Where there's things I think the automation of certain stuff might make it easier. It might take away. It's subject to this debate because I need to play it. With this, I know for a fact I sometimes have trouble seeing where the pieces are because this is a very colorful board.
Yep.
But there's no issue when you actually are playing the game, seeing where things are. Like, it's not a problem. It doesn't treat itself as well in the online functionality. When we talk about this game, too, the other thing, because we always talk about components when we're reviewing anything. And I do want to say that, I mean, the quality of the components is exactly what I expect. Good chunky dice. Everything's there that I need. And a good batch of monsters to pick from. And because it's King of Tokyo, or as I in the past I always loved King of New York, same vibe, they could always add more monsters. They could totally expand upon this if they want to.
Yeah, this is easily expandable.
Reason why they wouldn't, given all the content that already exists for this in this universe.
Oh yeah, I would be shocked. And it plays so quick. I mean, we played this just to give perspective for people. We played this on a small table at a coffee shop. So when you think about the fact that like we went out over a half hour in less than 30 minutes, played this game, and then went and played another game, like within an hour of time, we played for 2 games. So I think
the box says 20 minutes, and I feel like that is one of the most accurate time, representations on a box that I can remember, because it's almost been exactly that amount. It is really quick.
Yeah. But those cards, by the way, and I don't know if you both have felt this, but the cards, the power cards, you're also, because it's a shorter game, it doesn't feel like I see them like repeatedly too. So all the games feel different. I'm seeing different cards because you are moving through the cards fairly effectively, but there's only so many turns before someone takes victory. And then there's plenty of things I haven't seen. And then by the time I see something again, it feels fresh and new, or I might remember its ability, but it's going to take a long time to see all the cards because the game moves at such a pace. So the pace of play, fantastic in this one, to say the least. So
agreed.
Yeah. I'm so glad you bring this up. And I agree, again, echoing the point, if you have a chance to play this in person, please do. Because it's a delight. And I love my 2-player games, but this treats the world of King of Tokyo very well, I think.
They did a great job with it.
How is it compared to King of Tokyo and King of New York?
That's a good question. For me, I will say, one of the questions of all these 2-player games, right? Like, why is there a Splendor Duel? Why is there going to be a Zool Duel, right? What does it do? And I feel that this one is a game that at 2 players, I would certainly rather play than King of Tokyo. Regular with 2 players. It effectively does, as noted with the pieces that got mentioned, those boosts and other things, it changes gameplay up in enough ways that it still feels fresh. And in that sense, I would actually prefer to play personally. I would prefer to play this over King of Tokyo. I say that echoing the point that I am a King of New York fan. And I actually, the first King of anything game I played was King of New York. And I love King of New York. So I already preferred King of New York over King of Tokyo. But King of Tokyo, even being, I'd argue, the more straightforward, simpler one, this one adds enough while still being simple. And I think it does it masterfully, personally. So, that's how it compares to me. I don't know what you both think.
I flip. I'm kind of the flip of what you just said, in that I like King of Tokyo original better than New York. But I do agree that I'd rather play this than play regular King of Tokyo at 2 players. I do feel like regular King of Tokyo sometimes drags on. I almost always suggest playing the shorter games, so just 10 points. The 20 takes forever. And the more players you have, honestly, I know there's more chaos, but there's also more downtime because of that, because you're not rolling your dice for a while. So for that reason, I think for me, it goes Duel, Original, and New York for now. But I also haven't played, like, there's Origins and
there's a dark one, isn't there?
There's the dark, which I think might just be artwork difference, but I haven't played that either.
I thought that was just artwork difference. Yeah, I might be wrong. By the way, Mr. Coaster saying Splendor Duel wasn't real neat, but it was so great. Hoping the same for King Tokyo Duel, and I think you're going to find that, in my opinion. I will say my number on this one was actually an 8.3. I really liked it. It was solid.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. It's a solid 8.3 for me. I really liked it. It's not my favorite of all the Duel games I've been playing. If you're going to throw just Duel games out there as a whole, Splendor Duel to me was a masterpiece in ways that I never expected. But I thought they did a great job with this. I think people should pick this up and try it out personally.
I agree. I'm not that high on as you, but I'm a solid 7.5 for this one.
Nice.
Yes. I stand by my 2-player game love, and I like this better than King of Tokyo, which my King of Tokyo is like a 7.5. So this was a bump up for me from King of Tokyo, and just a touch below King of New York, because I think my King of New York I rated around, when I reviewed this recently, I think I was around an 8.4. So I still prefer King of New York, but yeah, this is great.
Yeah, we'll have to play King of New York at some point. I haven't done that one yet.
Oh, I love it. I love that one.
You should.
Yep. It's enjoyable. But no, thank you, Marcel. Thanks for bringing this one up, and we're knocking out coverage of one of the games we wanted to talk about today, and we get to do it with you, which is a ton of fun and great explanation of the game for everybody as well.
All right, well, have a good one, guys.
All right, we'll see you in
Marcel.
the chat.
Cool.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'll give this one a try. I personally am not too. I wasn't crazy about either King of New York or Tokyo. I prefer New York over Tokyo, but either way, they're just,
I mean, I think if you like a tug of war thing, I think you'll.
I do though. That's the thing. I do like tug of war.
Yeah. So tug of war with also smashing each other. You might like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, again, the time on it is so quick. Like, I talk all the time about sometimes games are really good, but then they just overstay their welcome a little bit with me. This in no way will do that. It feels like the perfect length for me. So, but yeah. So what is on your guys' mind tonight? A friendly reminder to everyone, by the way, call-aboard.com if you want to call in and be part of the show. Of course, we do always ask, we definitely ask you, go join our Discord, be part of the community. We don't
let randos in.
Yeah. Unless you put a box on your head, you have a very good chance of slipping.
That's true.
Let's not spread that rumor. Then who knows what's going to pop up under a box. But with that in mind, guys, and as we wait for calls, I was going to say one of the ones I wanted to bring up, if you don't mind, I'll kind of kick us off here. I've had a chance to play some interesting games. By the way, later tonight, we're going to be reviewing a few other games for sure. So stay tuned for that. But the game I think I want to talk about as I review here, and I'm looking.
Goodness. Same, Anthony.
Yeah.
River.
Oh. Actually, because this wasn't originally on my list, but I want to bring it up. Actually, no, I'll go to that later. I want to talk about Panda. Okay. I want to talk about Panda. So we have review copies of a bunch of all play games, and I'm going to bring up a pile.
Okay.
And I've got a chance to play them all at this point. I'm only going to talk about one, but there's Panda. We have a copy of Prey. We have a copy of Fairy, and we have a copy of Rainbow. Now, these are all part of All Play's small box series, or their tiny box series. Tiny box series. But I want to talk about Panda. Now, I'll formalize a review at some point with this. I've got a chance to play this with Anthony already, I know. But what I love about Panda, and here's why Panda stood out to me. Okay. Panda is a very simple, straightforward game. You have cards with the letters A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, all different colored cards. Additionally, the A card which is they're the most. So they're numbered. There's 10 A cards, I believe, 7 B cards, 5 C cards. Again, it varies. Now, in this game, you're going to win the game. And let me show you a little bit of what this looks like on the BGG here. In this game, you are going to win when, and let me share here. So you're going to win when you get a certain hand. And when I say you get a certain hand, you actually, I'm hoping we have an identifying card in here, which we do. So if you look here, the card on your right is your guide. When it's on its blue side, you haven't won a trick yet. If you flip it over, it's yellow, and you've won a round, essentially. What's going to happen is you're going to either pick up a card or discard a card. When you discard a card, you're discarding it into a discard pile that is face up. When you play a card, you're essentially, when you're discarding that card, it's going there, so it'll be taken. When you're drawing a card, you can draw it from the pile that you don't know what's in it. It's just a large pile of cards, or you can draw it from that discard pile. You're then going to take these cards into your hand. Now, the card on the right shows you what are winning hands. And that sounds simple, straightforward, except for one thing. And this one thing ties the game together so well for me. If you play an A card to the discard pile, everyone has to pass a card to the person next to them. Meaning your entire hands are going to potentially change. Now, this plays well, in particularly at a larger player count. But I will say what's great about this is you don't win just because you got the hand you wanted. You win when you start the next round with that hand. Because if you just won at the moment that you were able to draw up and get what you win, I would say, okay, cool, fun, cute little game. That extra little turn, that means I now have to survive around. I got what I needed, but now I've got to make it to the next round and still have a winning hand. And I'm always at risk if I pass a card of giving someone the winning hand for a future turn. It just adds to it. So for me, Panda, they just nailed a simple card game that I can teach anyone, but has enough going on that it keeps it interesting every single time. I did play every one of those games that I showed you with my family. This is the one they kept wanting to go back to. And even though Prey in particular, I thought had some really interesting mechanics, Rainbow as well. Fairy, we only played once. Panda, every time came back to it. And so I had to highlight this one. I really, really enjoyed it. And then again, Panda is described as get those sleeping pandas into perfect configurations of cards. But yeah, really simple card game. And again, review copy. Want to point that out. This was provided to us by All Play, who we recently covered Twinkle Twinkle for. And really liked it. So I just wanted to bring this up. I know, Anthony, we had a chance to play it. It was 2 players, so it's not the optimal player amount, in my opinion, as I noted, but you got a sense of the game, I know.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. It's a really cute little concept. I don't know if there's another game that has this exact sort of concept with this set of possible winning hands that are all of different, sizes. That's kind of the big differentiator here. And again, to your point, and I sort of flubbed up on this because, again, it was my first time playing, but I thought I won because I had, I discarded something. Oh, here it is. Here's my winning hand. I have to wait till the beginning of my next turn. And guess what? By then, this dope over here gave me another card that I had to deal with. And so now you're constantly like that ebb and flow. I'm going to discard something, but I need to have some extras in case I have to pass something. I don't want to pass something that I need. And it has this vibe of like Rummy, right? Where you're trying to make sets or runs to an extent where you might be going for something early on, and because of the way the cards fall, that thing you're going for changes a little bit. And that's cool. There's this fluid sort of goal going on there, like the way kind of like Flux tries to do it, but this is much less chaotic because everything is right there as possibility. But yeah, even though I only played it one time, I see the appeal of this, and this is definitely one to introduce to new gamers or non-gamers for sure.
Yeah, and they say best at 4, which I agree. Best
Yeah,
at 4
makes sense.
totally is the right number. I think it plays great at 3, but at 4 it just shines. So, but
Yeah, we're down to try it. It sounds cool.
Yeah, that was Panda.
Nice.
By the way, big welcome to Sky in the house.
Hey, Sky.
Good to see Sky. Mr. Coaster, by the way, saying we just finished playing the new reprint of Lords of Vegas. Great fun.
Love Lords of Vegas.
Yeah, let's bring that up.
Lords of Vegas?
Yeah, Lords of
Have
Vegas.
you guys played Lords of Vegas?
I have not. I've played.
That's the original one.
Yeah.
I don't think I played this game. I played, I think, Las Vegas. That game.
Las Vegas is a different game. Yeah.
That's a good game.
Right under, up, right under, up, above, under.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the new edition.
I played the original at some point, but I have very little memory of it.
It's a great game.
But I'd like to play it again.
Yeah.
This new print looks beautiful, though.
I'll give it I'll give the new edition a shot, but I'm a big fan of Lords of Vegas. I think I have the Up expansion too in my copy. It's a good time. I'll tell you what is a good time though too, Chris.
What's that?
I don't believe I talked about this at all on a What's on Your Table, because did we have a What's on Your Table in December? No, right?
No, because we did our end of year party with Green Team Wins.
So my December was dominated by a review copy game given to us by CGE called Little Alchemists. And it was #1 most anticipated game for me at PAX Unplug. And I love this game. So Little Alchemists, it for sure delivered. It is a campaign-based kids game. Well, I'm not. I don't want to say it's just a kids game because there's still.
Can I add? I have a hard time calling this a kids game because I did get to play this with you.
Well, you came into like level 6.
I know. I understand that, but like it didn't feel even at that. It did like I know that was level 6, but it felt like I don't know. There was a balance to it that like it was great with kids, but it could very easily be like in between a heavier game session, we play a game of Little Alchemists. That's the vibe I got.
So first of all, Little Alchemists is a kids version of another game called Alchemist, which came out in 2014. And if you've seen my top 20s on here, I adore Alchemists. Everything about Alchemists, I truly adore. It's one of my favorite board games to just show how awesome app integration can be in a board game. And that's just tip of the iceberg because there's so many things I love about Alchemists. But I noticed with Alchemists, sometimes the deduction gets really tough because you have to kind of grok the deduction and then you're playing the game. And this game makes the deduction still a key part of the game, but it's a bit more streamlined for playing with a younger audience. But the goal and the reason why this game, I believe, was designed was the designer wanted to play Alchemist with his kids and made Little Alchemist as essentially a giant tutorial on how to play actual Alchemist. And it throws in different mechanics of regular Alchemist into it. So it's 7 boxes. It's 7 levels rather, and you'll be going through. And every time you beat the game, you'll be putting stickers down to unlock the next box and so forth until eventually you unlock box 7, and then you're playing with everything in there. In which case, in the rule book, you could add more stickers. It's slight spoilers, whatever. You can add more stickers to just say like, "Oh, you won." So what I told my son is if we put all the stickers down, then you can play actual Alchemists, because that game is intense, in the best possible way. And Little Alchemist does a great job of introducing the mechanics of Alchemists one by one. So yeah, this is a great game.
So sorry, did you mean or say that once you do all the levels, you can continue to play the game that way?
You can continue to play the game. Yeah. So at level 7, which is the last level, you can continue to play the game as much as you want. You could also reset it back to earlier levels too. So this way, if you want to introduce someone new to the game, you could go back to the earlier levels, and they show you ways on what components to include and what not to include and stuff. Because there's going to be more things you unlock that make the game a bit more challenging.
Because you're right. I jumped in at level 6, right?
You did.
So I jumped in at the higher advanced level, so maybe that's why. But still, like, I'd be intrigued just to take like my son through that, or maybe it's more my daughter. My son will pick that up and no problem, but my daughter maybe through and see what my daughter's reaction is.
I mean, honestly, though, like even if you are a bit more experienced in board gamings and if you played Alchemist too, there's still enough enjoyment in this that, and I've seen reviews from other people saying that they're intimidated and don't want to play Alchemists, but Little Alchemists kind of gives them the encouragement to play actual Alchemists. So I that warms my heart because I love Alchemists. So now if people feel like there's a lot to grok, well, we could do Little Alchemists and just get there.
No, I like it. I really enjoyed this, and yeah. Do you agree with the assessment from BGG that it's best at 4? Because
no,
that's the one thing that I was surprised at just now when I looked at this. I'm like, I don't really feel
I feel
at 3, but
I feel the same exact way about regular Alchemists. It's a best at 2 game.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer it at 2. I feel like it could drag a little bit with 4. It's definitely best at 2. And the original Alchemist gives you more actions to do at 2 players, and that gives you more opportunities for the deduction portion, because the more players you introduce into Alchemist, the less opportunities you will have with deduction. And I feel like that kind of takes away from some of the core excitement of the game, which is deducing what every ingredient is composed of.
Got it.
So yeah, I think, I mean, this is fine at any player count and just like regular Alchemist is, but I prefer it at 2, both.
No, as a point of clarification, just because I know you said it, but just so people know, this was one of the copies that was our review copies after PAX Unplugged too, that we got a hold of, right? If I have that correct. So I do want to take that moment to thank them for this CGE, and for getting us a chance to play it. Because CGE has treated us very well at PAX Unplugged every year, and we're really grateful for that. And we always get a chance to try some
and beyond, because spoilers, they mailed us SETI.
Yes, so SETI is one we will be getting to the table pretty soon, for sure, which we're excited about. So yeah, Little Alchemists, CGE, and that was a 2024 release. I'm glad I got to play it. I would like to play more of it. It was delightful.
When you do, we'll do a formal review.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And then I think we'll get a formal review in for sure of this one. By the way, let's go see what everyone's been up to. Sky saying, haven't played much besides stuff for work, but I did get the new HeroScape set for Christmas. And I'm super stoked to paint and play it.
Nice.
Dan saying he got to play Blueprints of Mad King Ludwig, which I have not got a chance to see. That is a 2024 one, I know. Let's see. Let's bring that to the table here.
Is that like flip and right one?
Yeah, so it is described as test your your skills. Yeah, flip and sketch strategy game to draw the most extravagant blueprints for King Ludwig's next castle. Dan pointing out he has not played the original. Watch the video the next day. None of the pricing aspect. So, so that's the big thing. None of the pricing because Sky had inquired about that. So interesting. Yeah. Dan also said he got Go Birds to the. Oh,
I love that game.
There you go.
Oh God.
That game is best with chicken wings.
Yeah, that's best with alcohol. Anyhow, on multiple levels. Anthony, what's on your mind?
Well, what's on my mind right now is that I'm intrigued by this game, and I would definitely check that out because talking about intimidation, the original Mad King Ludwig Castles of game
Castles of Mad King Ludwig.
Yes, was very intriguing to me, but upon watching some videos on it and the whole, when you're the master architect or whatever, you're setting these prices and stuff, that was too much for me. I did, however, play between two Castles of Mad King Ludwig, which I liked because that's one of those games where you're building something on each side of you together with that player, and you're going to score I think it's like the lowest of the two. So you want to try to keep them both, pretty awesome going and building. And I quite enjoyed that. And there's been a couple of variations of that game that are pretty interesting as well.
I do want to add before we go to your game that the Castle of Mad King Ludwig was one of the first games I actually owned when I was building a collection. I really liked it, but it was a hell of a time to get people to play it because of what you just mentioned. So it eventually left my collection, but I was always fascinated by that. We're building out the castle. Like it was cool. It was a cool concept.
It was like a Suburbia sequel, right? Castles of Mad King Ludwig, I think, was a Suburbia sequel.
Yeah, and I like
Between Two Castles Mad King Ludwig was Castles Mad King Ludwig combined with Between Two Cities.
Correct.
Yes.
And then Blueprints of Mad King Ludwig. We got to figure out what game that is from.
Between Two Blueprints of Castles of Mad King Ludwig.
The dice game.
The dice game.
Girly Gamer. I also left Twitter.
Oh, yeah, for that. Oh, yeah, look at that. Oh, that's lots of people here. Hi, everybody.
Yeah, we got
I just saw the number.
Girly Gamer in the chat. Yeah, there we are. Got lots of good people here, folks. We love seeing you here. Of course, friendly reminder, call-board.com. Meantime, we're going to find out, Anthony, what game did you play recently that you want to chat about?
Well, I played lots of games, but I'm going to chat about Trio for a quick bit. I know we have talked about this game on the channel before, but we've been talking a lot about welcoming games or easy to teach games that can get to the table quickly. And one of the litmus tests for me has been, can I teach this game to my parents? And I haven't played games with them in quite a while, but I've been trying to go over there more lately. And last week I brought Trio there and we played it 3 times, ironically. And it was great because each of us won one time, which
Nice.
I was very happy about, because the way it goes when I teach my parents a new game is usually my dad picks it up relatively quickly. He'll ask questions, obviously, but my mother often feels lost and can't convince herself that she knows what's going on. She won the last game of this and demolished us. She got 3 trios before either one of us got any of them. So she just plowed through us on that last game, and it was fantastic. I've really enjoyed getting this game to the table. I love to teach it. I love to see the nice, colorful artwork. And I think this will be making the rounds as one that I recommend often for a quick, friendly, easy to explain game. And even the quote unquote spicy mode with that little advancement is really not that hard to understand either once you play the game a couple times the regular way.
I laugh about this though, because I still remember when I think it was Ruel came on and talked about Nana. And then we were like, oh, we got to try this. And then before we knew it, like I will say, this is easily one of the, the top 3 most played card games in my house at this point. And not to say Mojo doesn't get played, but like this gets picked over Mojo just probably because of the speed of it. And I don't know what it is. We still love our Mojo. But Trio definitely is a favorite, and everyone I've introduced it to actually grasps it. And I think because of that piece, that what your starting hand is can kind of set you up in an interesting way that everyone always feel like there's a chance to win, right? Like you got to play right, if you're, and you have that little memory game in the middle of the table that's happening, right? But I do think it's very approachable for all ages for the most part, right? Obviously. And I think that whether it's parents or other, mid between other games, it just plays well. I like it as a break, honestly, between a heavier game while someone else is setting something up is the way I've ended up playing it. Because it's quick enough. Look at this, by the way. Adding it to the wish list.
There you go.
Yeah, you should. It's a good one. It is a good one. Marcel, by the way, saying that this game is making a play for my son's favorite game versus Robot Quest Arena. And Robot Quest Arena is a delight. Very different games, obviously.
I would keep pushing that because I'm pretty sure your wallet will be a lot happier.
Yeah, because they're going to keep making robots. They're going to keep making robots. Oh, man. I want to talk about a game, but before I do, friendly reminder, call-sport.com. We do love to see your beautiful faces. I want to talk about a game that I played recently that I was incredibly excited to play. Eventually, a review probably will come of this, but I need to play it more. Ryan, you know what I'm talking about, I think.
Do I?
It is not a quick teach, but if you've
Would you say it's a daunting one?
It is a little daunting. If you've played Undaunted before, this will not be nearly as daunting. That is Undaunted 2200. And oh my goodness.
Come on, man. You gotta do more spacey.
Oh.
Undaunted 2200 Calisto.
I was just gonna say Undaunted in space, but no, Marcel, it was not Firefly.
Get that out of here. Can we kick him out of the chat?
No. So let's talk about this game. First and foremost, look at that box. All right, there's things happening. First, when you look at this box, you see mechs, which I remember got me excited when this box first showed up on my screen, and I said, okay, what is this? And I think I said to Ryan, all right, you got the last Undaunted, I'll get this one.
I did get the last Undaunted. Wait, does that mean I'm on the hook for this year?
Yeah, that's that's how that works. But anyways, when we talk about this game, here's a few of the things that change. There are some of the stuff is right on this graphic I happen to notice. So in Undaunted, all the terminology you're used to, I won't go into the full explanation of Undaunted, but there's a lot of terminology that explains actions you're going to take because these are on cards. You're going to start every game with a certain set of cards, and you're going to draw up your cards, 4 cards, and you're going to play 1 card to determine initiative. Now, if you've played War Chest, yes, these are the DNA of many of these games is definitely all there. But that hey, shush.
I did.
But that said, in this one, after that, you're going to determine who goes first. Those cards are discarded into discard pile, and then you have the next 3 cards to play that round. Now, what's really interesting about this, however, is it still plays the same in the sense that you play cards, there's actions that get you more cards. But in this version, a few things. There's height, there's low ground, and there's high ground. So if you look at the board, as an example here, the middle of this board in particular, you are going to have high ground that is marked. And it's a little harder to see, but it is
it's elevated terrain.
Yeah, it's elevated terrain. And I'm trying to, let's see, whatever.
That's the book.
There it goes. That is the book. But in this is elevated terrain. So depending where you are and who you're attacking, it's going to change the die roll. And I really like this change quite a bit. This game also added mechs into the game, which also have some cool new abilities. There's one ability now in the game in particular where normally you would be able to do a scout action. And when you do a scout action, you put an explorer marker essentially on the board for all the spaces you went. But now you've got an action that you don't even have to move, and you can put those down.
Yeah, because you can't move. You can't move figures. You can't move your pieces on the board unless they've been scouted already.
Yes.
That's why you would want to do it. And then doing so clogs up your deck with crap cards called like what is it called in this? Like
interference in this.
Interference.
In the classic game, it would be Fog of War. But
still waiting for Obsession with mechs.
Oh my goodness! Oh goodness! Obsession. Isn't that Scythe?
No way. No way.
It's close.
Sorry, I got very. Go ahead.
But anyways, I want to point out too, the other thing that was different with this was it is a full board. It's not.
They're not map tiles.
They're not map tiles, and there's 4 double-sided boards.
Yep.
I have not got into exploring, for what it's worth, the all the details in terms of the solo mode and everything else there is, but I just got to say, first experience with this, we are 1 game in, and obviously we're going to continue to do that, but I found this delightful. Again, you can see those die, by the way, that slightly different. You've got the D8, the D10, and the D20, D8, D10, and D12. So a little bit more of a chance at getting your hits in and knocking out your opponent. The other cool thing I got to note about the boards, by the way, that I thought was really nice is the fact that all the objectives for that particular scenario are right there in front of you if you need an additional reference, little things. And then again, the boards are solid. So big fan of this. I'm looking forward to digging deeper in what else comes out with this. And this is high on my list. Trevor Benjamin, David Thompson, kind of solidifying themselves as probably my favorite designers at this point.
They knock it out every time. Like, this is not like this could be a cash grab, right? But it's legitimately good. Like, they keep doing such a great job of building upon this strong skeleton of Undaunted. Like the premise of Undaunted, all the mechanics that are there, they're so solid, and they keep finding ways on making that system better. Yeah. And I'm really looking forward to playing the rest of the Undaunted 2200. I don't think it's the best in the series yet, because right now I'm between Stalingrad and Battle of Britain, because those are both fantastic. But I want to play the other scenarios, because that could change my mind, because the scenario design in Undaunted, combined with how strong that structure is of the agony of ditching some powerful cards so you can go first, because it is super important at times.
Sometimes going first is you're gonna literally lose if you don't go first. So
I am ready for Undaunted anything. So sign me up.
Yeah, and I do want to hit on one thing before we move on, which is this could have been a cash grab.
It could have
very
been
easily. Undaunted, 2200, Calisto could have been a cash grab, and it's not. That elevation, the other little things, a new
and there's more scenarios. There's more things we haven't dived in.
And that's, again, I'm saying this after one play. I'm confident that I'm going to be excited by the additional stuff it adds. So this is one we're going to play through, and I do think Battle Britain is phenomenal. Battle of Britain has the way that the things move in that, and Stalingrad, this perspective of Stalingrad, got to continue that. But I estimate a lot of Undaunted in 2025 right now, just based on everything we just said. So that's
Undaunted. Estimate that for every year.
I know, it's so true. But David Thompson, Trevor Benjamin hit it out of the park, and the art looks great. So Roland McDonald, great job. And Osprey Games, keep publishing them, and we'll keep buying them.
That's pretty much.
But you're on the next one. That's all I'm saying.
By the way, Marcel, there's a solo mode for Undaunted, but more serious. I feel like you could potentially do this over camera, because everyone's got their own separate decks, and if you both own the copy, you can have a shared board or put one board on camera, and I think you're ready to go. So what I'm saying is, you can play. You can play, man.
No,
You don't need
Undaunted,
friends.
I think completely, unlike some other games, this one, because you're controlling your deck anyways, not a problem. Someone just control board. So if you can do Marvel Champions on stream, you can do this on stream. It's not a problem. So yes, challenge accepted.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So now that I'm done arranging your play date, I need to just jump right into this one. 2024 was a year of board games. There are good ones. Nothing really like blue. I mean, there are things that I thought were great. There's great games 2024. Nothing blew me away. They're like, oh my god, this is amazing. I'm already at current game of the year of 2025 because let me tell you how much I am loving Metal Gear Solid, the board game. It is right there. It is phenomenal. So, full disclosure, I'm a huge fan of the original Metal Gear Solid video game. I remember playing the heck out of some demo. I forget on what. Maybe, it's like PlayStation Magazine of just a demo, and then finally being able to rent it at Blockbuster, and then buying it and going crazy for this game. It's the video game when that came out. There was really nothing as cinematic as Metal Gear Solid was, because it felt like you were playing a movie. And yes, you do hide under a cardboard box. There is a cardboard box miniature. So if you are a fan of the video game, you need to play Metal Gear Solid, the board game. It's such a good adaptation of Metal Gear in board game form. So what you're doing is it's an episodic campaign system or standalone VR missions. So cool. Okay. You can play up to 4 players, but different levels require a max number of players. So like the first 2 levels, you're playing just as Solid Snake because you're going in to Shadow Moses Island, and you're going to be, doing your best to avoid being seen by the guards because you have really low health. You have 4 health, and you're very easy to hit, just like Metal Gear Solid. And they did such a great job of, Emerson Matsushi did such a phenomenal job on bringing this to the table. You could tell he's a big fan. I'm a huge fan of this, and he has knocked it out of the park. And I just want to get back and go back and play this game.
Well, it was a conversation on the Discord about the fact that his fandom shined through. It wasn't just you.
And it's not just in the game, too. He's on Board Game Geek forums right now, and anytime someone has a rules question, he answers as if he's in character in Codec. And that's what's great about this, too, because the campaign, first of all, the worst thing about the game is the rulebook. The rulebook sucks. And I think they know it because they tell you, hey, don't read the rulebook. Do the campaign. Because while you're doing the campaign, you're reading the book, the codec messages between Colonel and Snake and Naomi, they explain to you the mechanics of the game as you go along, and it pulls you in. Like, it just pulls you in. Yeah, go back up to let's see, go to CN. Well, let's see, keep going down. Man, there's a good one. Which one has his thing? I'm gonna find it. Anyways.
Yeah,
he'll answer these. Go to leapfrogging. Maybe leapfrogging has one.
Here it is.
Yeah, right here. So there's Emerson answering the question as if he's Colonel.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
And that's how the rule book is. Like, I mean, the book is like the like the campaign book. They kind of just tell you, and they take quotes from it and they tweak it into into the game. Oh man, it's so well done.
But I'm hearing it in the voice. It's like,
yeah,
that's amazing.
So they did such a it's such a phenomenal job with this. Now, I don't know. I mean, in terms of like the rest of the Metal Gear Solid series. I'm a huge fan of this one. Part 2's all right. Part 3's phenomenal. Snake Eater, great one. Go over there. You see that over there, the gray box over there? So as the campaign goes on, you're going to collect cards, different item cards, and you'll hold on to that equipment from campaign to campaign. You notice that box? That's where you store it. Can you zoom into it at all?
Oh, yeah, probably.
Actually, I have it right here.
Oh, bring it up.
I'm right here. They make it look like a memory card from PS1. This is where you store. This is where you store all your cards. Like, oh man, the immersion in this, phenomenal. Like
it sounds like, you know how sometimes games try to make immersion and it just doesn't translate. Like for example, I've oftentimes seen it with rule books where like they try to make a rule book look really cool, but then you can't find anything. But then very often in games themselves, they try to make it so close to whatever the original is, but they forgot that it's a board game and it just doesn't work. It sounds like this has nailed it from your perspective. Both
10 out of 10
and gameplay wise.
Yeah, honestly, like the adaptation of this is phenomenal, and I am really looking forward to playing the crap out of this game. I pre-ordered it. What was it, last year? No, 2 years ago in 2023, and I was hesitant because, IP-based board games, they're usually not that great.
Yep.
And Emerson Matsushi, I've played Spectre Ops, which was a predecessor to Metal Gear Solid, the board game, and had some stealth mechanics into it. I wasn't really into it, to be honest, and I wanted to like it more than I did. Century Spice Road, I think it's fine, but and I played Her Story, which I think is good, but I think it just goes too long, Her Story. And when it came to Metal Gear Solid, the board game, I wanted to really like it. And I read through the rulebook when it was in pre-order, and the rulebook was really tough to decipher, and it still is. It's not a good rulebook. I think that's just the worst part about this game. But knocked out of the park with this one, and I'm really looking forward to just playing more. So
love it.
Let's finish this video so I can play more.
Anthony, you got one more on the list on your end.
One more. You know what I've been playing a lot of? It is a 2024 release as well, and it's all about cheese. Cheese, George. Cheese. Fromage.
Oh
boy, I've been playing this a lot. I've been playing it at 2 and 3, mostly 2 on Board Game Arena. But what I'm enjoying in particular is I guess that I don't know if it's called an advanced mode or whatnot in the rule book, but basically you draft the structures.
Yeah.
And so, your standard player board has the 4 regular structures, but you can draft these other ones and then replace and swap out or, cover on your board. I think up to all of them if you really wanted to, or maybe 3 to 4, I forget. But they do like other really cool stuff. So, one of the initial complaints that I had, I mean, I think maybe Ryan, you might have even felt this too, was the one part of the game, the order cards were, worth a point each. They weren't really worth like spending workers to get.
Yeah.
But there's a building, for example, that's going to make them worth, I think, an extra point each. So now all of a sudden you're doubling those. So maybe you do go for those. I talked a lot about that without even telling you about the game. This is a game that comes on a basically lazy Susan, as you'll see in that picture, where you're dealing with the quadrant that's in front of you on your turn. And you have these workers that can go out to either the top part of that triangle to get resources, whether it's buildings or cars or fruit or livestock, or you can place them in that particular quadrant. So there's 4 different things you're doing here. There's this like festival of cheese. There's these this map section where you're trying to get sort of area control, area majority. There's also this bistro where you're trying to get pairs of plates at different tables for different points. And then there's like the cheese store with all the shelves that do different things as well. What's cool about this is you only have 3 workers, and you're going to be getting them back at different times depending on where you put them. There's some spaces where you'll get them back the very next turn, but there's ones that you'll have to wait 2 turns or maybe even 3 turns. And the cool thing about the way that works is it depends on which direction your cheese piece is facing. And I love that because you can always see the other parts of the board and see where your cheese is. All right, that's going to turn this way. As soon as it's pointing back in your direction, it comes back to you, right? And I like that. It's a very tight game. You certainly cannot dominate in all 4 areas. It's just not possible. And you're going to run out of, cheese wedges a lot faster than you think you might. This game ends pretty abruptly where you might not get that one more turn that you wanted to, solidify your spot on that one quadrant or whatever. I'm loving the different scoring, different ways to score in this game, and playing with those different structures has been a lot of fun as well, because it lets you explore different strategies and stuff. So this has been one of my most played games in January.
I have to talk about this a little bit. We did a small community game few weeks back. Marcel's talking about it here when he says I enjoyed the teach the other week with the live playthrough. So Squirrel was there, and he actually walked us, because I had watched you guys play it, but I had not really played it. So Squirrel walked us through, and we played a 3 or 4 player game of it, and it really helped me kind of grasp it, just because I watched it from afar. But my goodness, I can see why people really are going to fall in love with this one. I mean, thematic, obviously, it looks fantastic, and it plays the way it plays well. It connects to that. But I love the different ways to score. And the piece I really did like was the concept of, when I put something on the board, I'm putting it out knowing I might not get it back for 3 rounds, but it's going to get me a lot of value. But is it worth it? So the choices that you get to make in this one, I really enjoyed. Definitely want to play it some more and kind of grasp some of the better ways to play. I did have that issue that you're mentioning, where it's like, well, why would I go for this if it's only going to really be worth 1 point at the end? There's all these other ways to score more points. So it's interesting to see that there's ways to make that a little bit better. That was my one gripe with it. But I mean, when you talk about board game as art, I mean, I look at this on a table. It is so cool.
Those order cards just serve to trick you. They're just bonus points. If you're going in all in, I tried plenty of times to go in all in on order cards.
I've played against a couple folks on BGA that have scored like 20, 25, 27 points on order cards, given the structure that they might have had set up the right way.
Well,
crazy.
I'm just bad.
Look, I think that's one of the reasons why I'm kind of obsessed with the game, right? I want to get better at it, and so I'm always looking to play again, because I want to see, all right, is it worth? I always try to get this middle row in the festival section, because it has those wild spots on the side. Maybe I shouldn't do that. I've been trying to use the you can use your livestock in the milking parlor to make another cheese, kind of breaking the rule of you only being able to put out 1 per turn. So one of the things I started trying to do was in the bistro section, where you need to have a pair of wedges on a table to get any points at all. It's hard to do that because, again, you're only going to see it every 4 turns. But if you can use that milking parlor and get 2 of them out in 1 turn, there you go. You just started, your scale started before maybe it would have on an earlier game. It has the way I kind of felt about Three Sisters when I first started playing Three Sisters, that I want to keep playing it, obviously because I like it, but because there's so much to sort of still explore. And that's one of the things that keeps bringing me back to it.
The building tiles, for sure, I think is one of the nicest aspects.
Yeah, I really like that. And then I believe, I think you told me, Ryan, there is an expansion coming
So
to
there's
the
a
crowdfunding
standalone
board.
expansion coming out about Italian cheeses called Formaggio.
Yeah, I'm down for that. I'm down for that. I love the aesthetic of this. I love that it's about cheese. I love that it spins around. It's cool.
Yeah, the presentation's phenomenal for sure.
I just love the look and feel of these. And
Yeah.
again, that board is, but this is what you're saying is not worth it. These things.
I mean, Brie is always
I'm not
worth
saying
it.
they're not worth it, but again, it also depends on what your starting position is. Because everyone, depending on player order, everyone gets a different amount of starting resources. Sometimes you might start off with maybe 2 of those order cards, and if you happen to get them, kind of get an extra point. But I don't know. Italian Jesus, he's very popular in Italy. That Jesus guy, I've heard.
It's a Depeche Mode song.
Oh my gosh.
The baby Jesus.
Oh wow. Well, that everybody was Fromage. Look at that. And I love this cover. I do want to point that out. I love this cover.
That's cool.
I love
Hills
it
of
too. It is
cheese.
very evocative of the children's book that also was a movie, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. It very much has that aesthetic to it with these rolling hills of actual food product. So yeah, I'm digging it.
Yeah, love it. All right. Well, I'll give people one more chance if anyone does want to call on call-aboard.com. We do not bite. I do want to make a note just for people so you know what's coming up here on the channel in February because we have a full slate of things coming up. So
short month, but packed with stuff.
Yeah, it really is. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring up my schedule of events here. So just so people know, February 4th, just as of today, the conversation was had. So we're going to have Amon Anderson joining us, designer Gnome Hollow, designer Twinkle Twinkle. So that's going to be a different time, 10 a.m. for that conversation. Then the next day, we're going to have a playthrough, 2-player playthrough of Floristry. David Gordon, Tam with the design on that one. If you've heard us talk about Push Push Penguin a little bit on the Discord, same designers. We'll talk about Push Push Penguin at another time for sure. We've been playing that one quite a bit. Then we are going to go later in the month, February 12th. That's a Wednesday, usual time. Our top 2-player games, top 10 2-player games list for 2025, which we update every year. And to be specific, it's really 2-player only games that we're looking at. Is it?
I thought you were shifting gears on that.
We alternate.
Oh, we alternated. I'm sorry.
I think last year was 2-player only.
Yeah, this is just best at 2. I apologize.
It's
best at 2. We do shift that every year. We are going to follow that one up with a conversation with Sabrina Kolba, designer of Diatoms. I'm mispronouncing that in this moment, I believe, but excited about that one. We had a chance to see that at PAX Unplugged. It sold out really, really quickly, and it was limited release there. And now
how quick did
it?
Day 1 is all I know.
All right, there you go. Day 1,
and then we'll wrap up the month with Call Aboard. So 5, and that'll be on our regular scheduled end of month. So lots of stuff, lots and lots of stuff. So wanted to let you all know February is packed on top of every other videos that we might drop along the way. With that in mind, Anthony, we had 2 games we wanted to cover. So I'm going to bring the first one up. And these are both of the games that we are going to talk about I want to clarify, review copies. We were provided copies of these games. The first one is published by NorthStarGameStudio, and that one is Biomos. And this one was a 2023 release where we are essentially developing a planet with biodiversity in mind. And a few things I want to talk about with this one. First, in terms of gameplay. So when you look at the board, which actually gives you a good idea into gameplay right at the start, because there's a lot of the symbols on it that are going to illustrate what's going to be happening. We're going to have a board on the table. There's a bunch of different biodiversity areas that we can fill our planet with, multiple colors. You could see them on the left-hand side of the board because there's multiple actions we can take, but there's one action that happens every round. Is there's going to be a bunch of these on the table. There's 4 of them on the table, and then we're going to pick one and put it into our planet. Now, when we put it into our board, we are able to put anything in between or in front of anything as we play the game, and we're going to be trying to accomplish some of these cards that are available. Let me see if I can bring up one of those cards. So as an example, like, for example, this. So if I was able to get that water and then essentially that desert followed by a water, I'm going to be able to claim that card. And I'm going to be able to claim that at the end of my turn after I place. But in between, and this is why I mentioned that board early on the left-hand side of this board, there's multiple actions we can take at prior to claiming a card. So as an example, if you have, for example, a water next to a desert, you can swap that out for a green. You have the ability to take the volcanic if a volcanic's next to a water, you can then swap it out for an ice. If you have a desert next to anything, you could swap it out for another desert. And then if you have the ice next to anything, you can swap an ice can just swap for anything. Boards are also going to have different scoring at the bottom, so you can get some different points for different items at the end of the game. And up in the upper left of your board, you can score for what you determine to be your moon, and you're going to get that many points for every one of them in the wheel. So that's the core gameplay. Most points is going to win. There are these kind of super cards that look like this that are a little bit harder to get, that you need a lot more. That one in the middle is a miscellaneous, and then of course you're going to have a lot of ice to get this particular one. That's
Aurora Borealis.
Yeah.
Nice.
So the mechanics of the game are pretty neat. The question that comes up, and there's a few things we need to speak to. So first and foremost, components was where one of my largest issues with this was because the components are very thin. Components were thin. They weren't laying completely flat for us, and almost in trying to do it, it almost I feel like nearly snapped the board in half.
I'll be honest. I almost broke the board. Okay, so here's my complaint, my hot take on this. The concept of that board with the way that you're putting the little circular terrain tokens in, and the fact that you can slide them either way and separate them. You just can't pick them out physically unless you do one of those special power things. That's cool, but because the board, first of all, was, I guess, a little warped, it just wasn't flat. The first time I tried to really slide anything, I slid 2 or 3 of them like under the board, right? Because it was a little raised in the middle. And so, I mean, as gamers, we're no strangers to some board bending, right? And I'm a big proponent of trying to do that reverse bend a little bit to flatten out your board. And I've never had a problem with that before. I tried that on this one and I almost immediately snapped it. It's thin, and because you have that giant section that's punched out, it becomes even more fragile, right? Because not only is it thin in terms of the thickness of it, but the section now is kind of fragile because it's a thin part of the board as well. That's my biggest complaint. Because other than that, besides that gimmick of the sliding thing, there's not much to this game that's really brand new. All right. And that's from someone who likes light games like this, where you're kind of making a pattern. But I'd rather do Planet, or even, Cascadia, obviously. That's one of my favorites. But this one, again, a cool concept, kind of didn't blow me away by any means.
Yeah, and and from a gameplay perspective, again, it did play quickly because you only play over 10 rounds. really, if I'm not mistaken. And I think just I think when I saw the price point, it was closer to like a $30. It was like a $29.99 when I looked online. Don't quote me on that. But that's when I was looking in that moment, right? That could be. But I will say, for me, well, the gameplay was cute. It was, even if it was like I could see, knock $10 off that price, and then I would have been probably at a better spot. But at the gameplay perspective, to that point, from a uniqueness factor, the uniqueness factor is exactly what we're talking about, right? Like there is this sliding them in. So it's got to function properly for me. So as much as I enjoyed it and I found, okay, that's cool. You do run into that problem at the end of the game where, I can't really do anything. The last 2 or 3 turns. And I tried this again. I ran into the same issue as like, well, at the end, I can't really do much because there are 2 spots at the end that you can put them there and you can't move them at all. Like you can't put anything in between them. It's not possible. Yeah. And I don't know, for me, I when it comes down to it, in a world with so many games that have a get patterns to collect cards, it didn't stand out enough. Partially, I think it would have stood out more had the cardboard not been as fragile. And then
I mean, I'm not gonna rate it poorly based on solely that. But no, again, if that's the shtick of the game, that part better
make it work. Yeah,
right? It's gotta work.
I mean, it's not Coaster Park, right? It's not that bad.
Yeah,
right. That's like the
No, it's not Coaster Park.
Yes, that's the bar. Yes.
No, but
the bar
to the
super
point,
low.
There was a part where you were trying to move it, and it kind of moved everything, and then suddenly we had to figure out, okay, what order were those in?
Totally.
So just from a functionality perspective, that's the reason I'm talking about this much. Yeah. I think the gameplay is fun. I think for a lot of people, if this could be a delightful little quick game, totally could be up a lot of people's alley. Do I think this stands out amongst the games that do a similar thing? No, I don't. But I think the concept is neat. I think it's different. I like what they went for. It didn't completely land for me either. So for me, I was glad I had a chance to play it. I'm not going to be personally rushing to play it. But thematically, I think thematically they connected it well enough. In terms of a light connection to a biosphere, right?
So grasping for straws here.
No, yeah. I do. No, I do, because when it comes down to it, those kind of combos do make these certain things. So I think they put the thought into that. It doesn't land though for me. Unfortunately. I really wanted to like this because I like the idea of a lighter game like this personally. That was going to jump out to me, and I haven't played Planet. I need to play Planet.
Well, Planet's very light as well, but it's more enjoyable. And again, that has a gimmick to it, in that it's a 3D magnet thing that you're making, but it works. It does its function properly.
Dan, by the way, saying I played this last month.
I'm intrigued. All right.
Yeah,
intrigued by you. Again, well, what's your rating then, Chris?
Yeah, my rating on this one was essentially a 6.5. I'm not in a rush to play this one again. But at the same time, someone wants to play it, I'll play it. It's not going to take a lot of my time. The gameplay is easy to pick up. So yeah, no problem. I'll play it, but it's not going to be the first thing I'm rushing out to table personally at this time.
Yep, 100%. And I'm almost right exactly there with you. I just did 6.6.
Yeah. So there we go. 6.5, 6.6. We do again thank them for the copy of the game, NorthStar Games. We do appreciate it. I am a big fan, and I'm intrigued I was really intrigued, I gotta say, with them by what they had chosen at PAX Unplugged around how they were evolving Evolution and the stuff that they were doing with their newer big version of Evolution, which had a much more modular base to it and kind of refined the original Evolution, because I'm an Evolution fan. So that is one I will be hoping to check out in the future. But unfortunately, this one didn't land for me. But we do appreciate the opportunity to try it. If you have any questions about it, let us know in the comments or in the chat, and we'll certainly be happy to answer them. Additionally, we have one other game that we had a chance to play, and that was a game by Lucky Duck Games. That is Toriki, the Castaway Island.
Ooh.
So this one is a fun little game designed for 8+, as you can see here. And yes, it says 20 to 600 minutes. So I want to point out what's going on here. So
Is that if you leave the game on?
yeah. So
Yeah.
when you look at the game, this is the board that you are going to start with. This is an app-assisted game. I'm going to point that out right up front. And I am going to say early on, because the app is critical, the app works pretty well. And I did realize when I first did it, the scanning of it wasn't working perfectly. And then I realized that a quick tap, it works perfectly. So it was a user error. So that was one thing I wanted to point out. App works really well in it, and I'll explain how it works. So in this game, we are going to each be explorers on this island, and we are trying to survive, escape, and get off this island. To do it, we're going to be moving around, collecting stuff. But to do that, we are going to move on our turns, and ultimately, we're going to find out what happens in all the spots that we're going. So the app is going to say, okay, this character moved first. You went to what spot? And you can say, okay, I went to spot 6. And it's going to give you a description. It's a short description. It's got some sound effects and tell you what's there. Now, when you're in locations, you have the ability to use items. So you're going to start the game with some items. I won't give away everything that you can get in this game, but you're going to have these items and you're going to be able to choose. You might have, I'm just going to say, an axe as an example or something along those lines. Think of that perspective. You might be near something. Maybe you could chop it down. So you're going to have to be thinking about that. The other interesting thing in this game is when you're at the base camp, which you can kind of see if you look here. This spot kind of like right above the yellow white meeple. There you can do crafting. So when you have items, you can craft items together to make new items and discover stuff that you're now going to be able to take into your hand. So you're going to be able to make new stuff to do new things. And the reason this says 20 to 600 minutes is it's got a very easy to reset nature. All you're going to do when you, at the end of a turn, every time after a round has ended, you could say, are you done? Yes, we're done. And it's going to remember everything that you have done, what cards you had, etc. And as you go, this board, as you can imagine, is going to expand. You're going to discover new stuff. You're going to have to explore new places. You're going to have to figure out new mysteries. You're going to have to find ways to get certain things done. You're also going to get new missions in the game, which are going to drive your score, because your score is going to come down from how well you accomplish the goals. Because there's essentially the concept. This is you're a bunch of kids, and then you kind of crash there with your professor, and ultimately he's giving you missions. So as you try to accomplish those, you can take from that campsite a clue, but your score goes down the more clues you take. I can say at this time, not quite completed everything in it, but I can say I've put in a good 2 hours into this. It's been delightful. We keep discovering new stuff. We've got farther across. More things are out. We've got plenty of fun items. And when it comes down to it, we're having a great time with it. But when we want to put it away and set it aside, we put it away, set it aside, and we can take it out later. And we just put the cards for each of us, because you can trade when you're on the same spot. We put them in little baggies and we know who's got what. But it resets so well, and the app's going to remember everything you have and guide you in your reset up. So as someone who's complained about app related things before on this channel, this app, fantastic. And that, I mean, components in this game, perfectly good. All this, the card stock's good. I mean, I can get nitpicky at those things if I want on games. This one, I think it's all right where it needs to be. But the app as a component piece of it, it works great.
So, I'm not surprised. I mean, Lucky Duck they've done Chronicles of Crime, and that app is pretty great too.
Yeah. So I don't know, Anthony, I know you and I played it for a little bit before my initial run.
Yeah.
So really interested what your thoughts are.
Yeah, this was enjoyable. I got a sense of the game. I'm hesitant on app integration in games overall as well. I like Chronicles of Crime, but not as much as most people who like it do.
No, I'm with you on that, by the way.
Yeah. It's just for. I'm not going to go into reasons of that, but for this game, the app did really well. It's reminiscent of those old, like, I guess, point and click games where you can drag something onto something to see if it materializes into something else, and that happens in this game, and that's cool. And then you'll get a new item, and the other thing that's neat is once you explore the island and you know where you found certain things, you can go back and get those things again to use in a different way, depending on what the current missions are. I will say I think the components are really good here. Particularly, I'm going to point out the board that you can see on the bottom corner there, that picture with the numbers on it.
Oh, yes.
So this comes the way that, like, if you've played any Pandemic Legacy, where there's certain numbers and you're told at certain times to, peel them open or whatever. What's great about that board there, it's double thick at least, and there's stuff on both sides.
Yeah, that's not it.
Those items go back into that board very easily. So they're not like, one out and then they're just pieces that are around. They go back in there really nicely.
Yeah,
And,
just as an example, like this is one of the pieces you can't
Yeah.
see what it is.
So it's like
I'm not-
advent calendar kind of.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Yeah,
Right?
a good advent calendar.
A good
Good advent, a
Yeah,
reusable advent calendar,
Yeah.
I mean, it's resettable though. So the point
Right.
with this is like
like the
if
Robin
you-
Hood game, right? Like, have you
Yeah.
guys done the Adventures of Robin Hood?
I didn't play that.
Oh man, you should. It's great. Sorry. go
But
ahead.
to that point, if you had this and you're a family and you wanted to play it again later on, later on in the future with some other family members who haven't done it, you completely reset that board, and it
Right.
would be just. And that was truly impressive. This could be in a school
Yep.
as a completely like replayable program. I mean, it impressed me just the fact that this was when we initially saw it, I was thinking, okay, that's cute. It's probably a one and done. And yes, for you, the person who played it, you're probably not going to want to necessarily go back immediately after because you're going to know where everything is. But
But there's a ton of story there.
there's a lot to discover. You're going to spend a lot of time with this game. And again, jokingly, you're not going to spend 600 minutes straight, right? You know what I mean? Like, and the game, you could probably figure out the game pretty quick too, depending on who you are and how quickly you make your decisions. So the game could be a much quicker game for some people. But I still think you're getting a bunch of hours out of this game and you're going to have a good time with it. In my opinion.
Yeah.
And again, I had a great time with my son. We're still kind of in the process with this one. But enough so that I can come away really excited to talk about it, to be honest.
One of the other cool things that we didn't mention yet about this is it comes with this sort of field guide of these different creatures and
That's
plant life that you'll discover on the island. And again, this is not really giving anything away. It's going to happen pretty quickly. But basically, you then go to that entry and you name it. You name the species and you write any notes about
That's
it.
funny.
To reference for future plays. So that was cool too. And again, adds to the whole thematic story. And this is like Robinson Crusoe, way less complicated and brutal. For a good audience
But
for
we
families.
did have trouble. Let's be honest. We were trying to figure out how to accomplish one thing, and we kept we kept crafting different items, and we're like, wait a minute, we think this might craft it. Oh no, it crafted this instead. Okay, that's cool.
Making stuff by accident.
What if we try crafting this? Oh no, we made that, and so there was neat moments.
No, it wasn't
like
easy,
that.
and it's tough to move around the island. Your movement allotment actions are very limited, especially at first. I'm sure that evolves a little bit as you play on.
It changes because you get more and more food. Because the other piece of this, and I won't reveal, I won't spoil it for people, but you at the beginning you do have some food, but you're gonna have to find ways to get more food.
Right.
And the way that happens is so cool. And as it evolves and grows, you will have more and more food over time, which will allow greater exploration. And that is critical, but it's built perfectly into the game. It's built perfectly in. So the food allows you to take an extra move, however. So say you have 2 movement, you can dispose of food to move 1 more space. So the food plays a part in the movement action, which allows you to explore the island very effectively. And there's other things that come into play. I'm not going to give it all away about as the island expands, you're going to have easier opportunity to explore parts that are farther away. And they've balanced it. And Rachel is commenting, this game looks like it's exactly right for my family. And I think for families, it's going to be a ton of fun. I think, again, it fits in school systems, it fits in libraries. And I will say my son's 11 years old. He's having a blast with it. So 8+ doesn't, I didn't try this with the 6-year-old yet. But 8+ have, I think is the right age range on it overall. And yeah, I'm definitely.
Does the app change anything at all? Like what the app is just kind of unveiling things, or
the app is critical to it, because the app is when every action you're taking is there's a little bit that you discover on each tile, and if you go to a tile and then you go to it with the tool, it's going to, little things can change when you go to a tile with a tool, and other things are going to happen. The app is not changing the gameplay per se in any way other than it's guiding the story. But the story is built in well, that it's not overkill, right? Like there's a little bit, and ultimately you might just say, oh, cool, we got this item, and move on. You don't have to read every little detail. But from time to time, things happen, events occur, and that drives more missions. So it is pushing out more and more stuff, and potentially missions might, I don't want to say they'll change, but let's just say things happen as time goes on. So it is progressing the story along, which does impact, and it's going to be different if you're taking longer to accomplish a certain thing. Plus the professor will remind you, by the way, you didn't, the first mission is getting food. I'll just say that. If you haven't found a way to get food, the professor's going to remind you, oh, you should probably go get some food. And there's some really funny things that happen to the professor, and they kind of make me laugh. But yeah. And then
can you pass this along to a different family after you're done?
Absolutely.
Everything's fully resettable?
Yeah, I mean, the only exception would be like the little field guide thing that I just mentioned.
Yeah.
But Chris and I were already talking while we were playing it for the first time, that it's just easy to just reproduce that if you want, or just, it doesn't have to be that exact thing, right? You could just write stuff down somewhere. But yeah, you're not, like I said, even the stuff that you're revealing and taking out is very easy to put back, and you're going to get the game, and it would look like you just opened it. That's my understanding. You have more experience with it.
No, I agree. I think it's just a field guide. But but there's a printable field guide. So
they probably sell those.
No, there's a printable field guide, I think, that they make available. I don't even know that. I think there might even be a PDF that you can download. So I literally have talked to Tammy about the fact we could have fun, you could have fun with this, running it for a family. And again, they can jump right into it, and they can run it from their own app. So you could be running multiple. You could run with a copy of this game, a game for someone. They could finish it and go to another family, no problem. So it's really cool in that sense. Yeah.
Yep. I enjoyed my limited play. Again, I only played a little bit, but I do think it's a very good value. I think you're getting a lot of gameplay and replayability out of it. I think it's a great family experience. So for me, my very little play of it, I'm at a 7.3. I'm sure that would be higher the more I played, and I'm sure it's higher for you.
Yes,
but it's a good game for sure.
Yeah, it's an 8 for me. It is upon completion, I'll probably give it my final score, but I feel really confident putting this as a flat 8. It's a solid game, and what they've designed exceeded my expectations, because I went into this thinking, okay, cool, app-based, etc. I'm gonna go into it optimistic. And yeah, I came out really excited by my play, and I want to get it done. You know, I wanted, and I'm the first to tell you that like we took 2 weeks off between the last play, and I honestly couldn't tell you how to craft like 1 or 2 of the items.
Yeah,
Because some of them are so close, and that's what's cool to me. But yeah, so I definitely encourage people to check this out. That is Toriki, the Castaway Island, published by Lucky Duck Games, and that is our final review for tonight. So again, I want to thank everyone who did provide us games for review. Lucky Duck, North Star Games, and in this particular case, Tokyo was your own copy that was not provided to us. So that was just a game we decided to review and wanted to talk about.
We should thank Anthony for purchasing that. Thank you.
Yes,
I'm
Anthony.
glad I pulled the trigger on that. I didn't purchase much this PAX, but I did look at that for a little while, and
yeah,
I'm glad I picked it up.
But with that, guys, I want to say thank you, everybody. Everyone in the chat, thank you. I hope you'll be joining us for some of the videos in February. We have some great conversations. 2 episodes of Creators Corner, as I noted, and I'm excited to chat with both of those designers. It's going to be a ton of fun. And it's going to be, as I was telling Anthony earlier, a trifecta of talking about Twinkle Twinkle. So be really interested to learn more about the design from that. Especially since Twinkle Twinkle is still on Kickstarter right now.
Mm-hmm.
Though I will admittedly say I'm very also intrigued by Waddle on that Kickstarter, which is the small penguin game. That I feel like I'm a sucker for penguin games. I think that's just the truth. But with that, guys, thank you all for being here with us tonight here on Cola Board. This has been What's on Your Table. We are going to be back, as we noted, next week. We got multiple videos in the queue, so we hope you will join us for that conversation on Creators Corner, followed by a game of Floristry, and check that live playthrough out. With that, I will say good night, and we will see you next week. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.